40 minutes past the hour, and right now dozens of demonstrations are beginning, across Russia to protest against corruption. The Kremlin calling the rallies illegal. A Russian opposition leader who called for the demonstration says the turnout at the Far East started fine. He's a candidate for next year's presidential election, running against President Vladimir Putin. We should point out CNN senior international correspondent Fred Pleitgen live from Moscow right now. Fred, we can see some activity behind you. How large are these rallies expected to be, and how expansive?
Yeah. Well, the protesters themselves say that there's going to be rallies in 100 towns and cities all across Russia today, and they say that many of them have already started and that some of them have drawn some fairly large crowds. There's also been some crackdowns as well. I want to show you what's going on right here. Christy, you can see there's not very many protesters here at this site yet, and they are actually far outnumbered by the security forces that have been brought to bear here. Now, we have to mention in all of this that the Russian authorities have said that this protest here is illegal because they felt that they couldn't guarantee the safety of the people who came here. However, this place is packed with security forces. So you have the police, you have riot police, you have plainclothes police, you have police with dogs. We've literally seen well over 1,000 of the authorities here on the ground, and really only a handful of protesters. We have seen a couple of arrests also take place so far already. But the protesters themselves are saying that these protests have started early, very early in the morning hours, of course, in the far east of the country, are sort of spreading across the country right now. They say so far things are going good. This is really the sort of main event in all of this, where the protest leader Alexei Navalny said that he wanted to show up here to lead these protests, which, as you say, have been deemed illegal. And so obviously this is quite a risk for him to try and stage something like that here right in the heart of Moscow, Christy.
Well, and Navalny running against Vladimir Putin in next year's election, what does this say? What you're seeing, the support that he seems to be getting, what does that say about the upcoming election to you?
Well, I mean, he wants to run in the election against Vladimir Putin, but there's very few people who believe that he would have any sort of chance. Vladimir Putin has about an 80% approval rating here in this country, so it's very difficult to run against him. And on top of that, so far, Alexei Navalny is not even allowed to run in the election because he still has a corruption case going against him, which he says is a bogus case, where he says it's trumped up charges, and he's currently in the appeals process. So he's going to have to wait and see till the end of the appeals process is he actually going to run. But of course, he is someone who apparently is seen at least as somewhat of a threat in the Kremlin. That's one of the reasons why this main protest here in the center of Moscow has been deemed illegal. And that's also why, quite frankly, we have seen a lot of very, very heavily armored police vehicles here, riot police here, dogs here, and where the authorities really seem to be very keen to not let these protests even get underway, Christy.
You know, part of the conversation there, too, is these 8 Russians who were holding key positions in the country who have died in the last 5 months. The latest, that murder on Thursday in Kiev. Are you hearing anything more from the Kremlin about that?
No, so far there hasn't been anything on that. I mean, the latest that we've been checking has been sort of into Friday, as that investigation was going on into the murder of Denis Voronenko. And of course, all of that really quickly spiraled into really a standoff between Moscow and Kiev on that issue, where we know that the authorities in Kiev there were blaming Russia for that murder. The Russians say that that's absolutely absurd, that they had nothing to do with it, and that they actually want to be part of the investigation to guarantee that the investigation is conducted in a way that they deem fair. So certainly that standoff is still going on. It's interesting because Denis Voronenko has actually already been buried, and that investigation is actually just now really getting underway to try and find out who killed him and why.
Wow. All right. Frederick Pleitgen, we appreciate you so much. Thank you. Stay close. We'll be right back.